companies are now outsourcing not to India and not to China. They're outsourcing to the customer. All you need to do is go to the ATM machine. The ATM machine, you punch in some numbers, you get your money presumably, but what you've done is taken over a job that previously was done by a teller inside a bank. And in fact, we calculate that something like the equivalent of 200,000 teller jobs are what people now make unnecessary by themselves, by we using the machines ourselves and substituting our work unpaid for the work of those tellers. And the same thing is true in many, many other activities where we take on and do for ourselves work that we previously bought in the money economy. We're now taking care of and doing without pay in what we call the non-money economy or the prosumer economy. Prosuming is going to explode. Why is that? It's going to explode because we're creating new technologies that individuals can use to do things for themselves. So it used to be, if you took a photograph, you then had to send that to Kodak in Rochester, New York, in order to get it developed and printed. So, and then it would come back to your local drugstore, and you'd pick it up a week later, and you had a photograph, and you paid for that. Now you buy a camera, a digital camera, and you make your own. You get your own pictures. So you are now doing work that used to be done in that Kodak factory. Okay, we are now developing and will be developing a generation of exceedingly powerful machines for individuals to use to create economic value, even though, again, it's not counted.
Right.
And so I believe we're going to see a tremendous explosion. And if you want to if you really want the breath taken away, think of this in terms of human history. At the beginnings of human history, everything people did, they did for themselves. There was no money economy. So you grew your own food. You ate as much of it as you could get before somebody took it away from you, probably the local lord. You grew your own food. You sewed your own clothes. You made your own boots. So everything was done outside the money economy. It was a non-money economy. Then gradually, money was introduced along with trade and exchange and all the things we know about. And the assumption that we all made for a long, long time, and indeed most people make until now, is that the non-money economy would eventually just go away, that we would all be in the money economy. And that's what we should be studying. But in fact, the non-money economy is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger instead of going away. And again, if you follow this down the line, you're going from developing your own films to having a fab or desktop manufacturing unit sitting on your table. Now, I don't suppose you're going to build your own car or your own airplane on your table, but you will be capable of producing complex components or other things that you yourself want to use. Now, just like bloggers are using the net to write for free what journalists get paid to do. So you have unpaid effort. So it's not that we won't have jobs. I think there will be jobs, but there's a parallel hidden economy that must now be recognized, and we've got to start thinking about how to integrate that and to recognize the integration between that and the money economy.
Prosumer is a person who consumes what they themselves produce. Instead of selling it, it's for their own use or for their kids or for giving out free.
I think one of the ways we talked about on the plane, which was so fascinating to me because of my business, you talked about the future, people basically producing their own newscasts. They wouldn't take what an establishment offered them. They would pick and choose through a computer what they're interested in. We, of course, see that today on the Internet.
And not only that, make their own in the blogs.
Right.
And a terrific example of the prosuming is this guy somewhere in Finland. He doesn't like the software his company has given him to do some work with and says, I'm going to write a better operating system. And as a hobby, he does, and out comes Linux, which is freely available, the source code of which he makes freely available. Thousands of programmers all over the world volunteer their time and effort, and they create new software that is scaring the pants off Microsoft and all the giant companies out there. Did it without money. So there's a lot of activity going on that doesn't show up on originally doesn't show up on the economist's cash register, but is very important for the economy.
You also talk about in your books and your other books how workers will work from within the home.
When we wrote that in 1980 in a book called The Third Wave, we forecast there'd be more work at home. That was regarded as lunatic, and the New York Times did a front-page article about how this was visionary nonsense. The Japanese government has made it a policy that by 2010 they expect to have 1 out of every 5 workers work at home. 20% of their workforce should be working at home. I remember first introducing that idea in Japan. They said, can't, the houses are too small, the people are not used to it, and now it's official government policy to move 1/5 of the paid economic activity back into the home.